Hi, everybody.
Okay, yeah, hi, welcome back. This is Broccoli Talk Part 2. It's Star Trek Online this time.
Woohoo!
So, John, you and I are both fairly big Star Trek fans, I guess?
Pretty big. Let's just look around. Oh, there's the DVD
Yeah,
collection.
we're in his basement. He has all... he has a lot of novels and all the... Yeah, okay, he just has all of them.
Yep.
Yeah. I've seen a couple episodes of the original series, a decent
A
amount.
couple?
Yeah, I haven't really watched
Never
that
mind.
much.
That's
I've
fine.
seen Next Generation, a decent amount. I've seen a lot of DS9, pretty much all of Voyager, a lot of Enterprise. I've seen Wrath of Khan, like, barely saw the first one. I saw the reboots. I saw all the Next Generation movies.
I've just seen all of them. Everything.
He's seen everything.
I'm not even joking. Like, I wish I was. Actually, no, I don't. They're all great. Anyway, so yeah.
So we're sort of, not experts, but we know stuff.
10,000 hours.
Okay.
More than 10,000 hours.
Okay, he's watched more than 10,000 hours.
Oh, well.
I don't know if he
maybe
has.
Maybe you have. I don't know.
No, I haven't. I know my dad has, but...
Okay, 40 minutes per episode, and then... Okay, never mind. We'll do this later.
Yeah, we'll do this later, but... so we're going to talk about Star Trek Online, which John owns. I don't, because my computer cannot run it, which is why we played it here.
Yes, true.
It's an MMO, so it's a bit difficult to get the full experience, but we played the Klingon tutorial of it. He's maxed out characters, I'm sure, and he's played it quite a bit more, so he'll be an expert on this. I'll ask him questions.
Expert.
We'll talk about my playtime, and we'll just go from there.
True.
Okay, so, John, why do you want this game? Why do you play it?
Why do I play this game? Well, for starters, any of you, like, diligent Trekkie fans out there, Kevin, you can answer this question, too. When was the last time you saw a fairly decent Star Trek game?
Yeah, it's not really like Star Wars.
Kevin can answer for you, I guess.
I know there was, I saw this one really old Star Trek game for the NES, and I know there's, I know there's a ton, but, like, they're just not that good, and I'm pretty sure this is probably the most high-profile one.
Yeah, so, to give you an idea, Star Trek Online isn't really on its own. It's made by a company called Cryptic Studios. They were bought by a larger company called Perfect World Entertainment in 2008, I think. And basically what they said to Cryptic, keep doing what you're doing, it's just now you've got our support as well. So Perfect World, basically, they find good MMOs and put them all into a server, kind of, like, all into a central location, basically. So recently, they've come up with this thing called Arc Games, which is basically you have one account, you log into it, and that gives you access to all of the games on Perfect World, all, like, 20 of them. So, I mean, that's a lot of MMOs, so you're probably not going to play all 20 of them, but it is an incredible step as far as, like, accessibility goes. It's so much easier to just log into Star Trek Online now because it's literally one button press and I'm there. So, as far about how it's made and how the game works, one of the things that they're proudest about as far as the gameplay goes is customization. Like, you make everything in this game, basically. So, to start with...
I saw a bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin and I, when he first played, he had a choice between either playing as a Starfleet officer, as a Klingon officer, or recently unveiled as of about a year ago or less, as a Romulan officer, which... God, the Romulan campaign's awesome. Never mind.
So he wanted me to do the Star Trek tutorial, but I said, no, screw you. We did the Klingon one.
Yep.
And so it's not just you get to play as a Klingon, because the Federation has a whole lot of species, and to make it fair, like, do the Romulans have a lot of species?
The Romulans, no. The Romulans have Romulans, they have Remans, they have, this is different, but they had liberated Borg Romulans, which are always fun, because they can assimilate crap, and then they have an alien, which, like, the alien species is basically, it's all three, for all three factions, and it's total customization.
Okay.
You can do whatever the hell you want. As far as like including them into a bio, like it basically just says that you're from some random member world of whatever faction.
Okay.
And you decided, hey, you know what? I'll join the interstellar stage and see what happens.
So I didn't know that. So like you could be a human, but with the Klingons or the Romulans.
Well,
you could make one, but
you can make one.
Okay.
Yeah. So something that's popular now on Star Trek Online is that there are a lot of officers that go around looking like Cardassians.
Yeah.
Because you can customize a Cardassian using the alien species, but they don't actually have them yet. And so, fingers crossed, hopefully that's the next playable faction. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind.
like that would be interesting. I'm a big fan of DS9.
Oh, Cardassians are great. Anyway.
So I decided to be a Gorn.
Yeah.
They are the reptilian ones that are famous for fighting Captain Kirk in the original one.
Really tall. Like.
So I made mine like...
You were never satisfied with your height.
No,
it still didn't matter much in the end.
I was max height, and I was like 8'5".
And then you go onto the Klingon homeworld, and there are Gorn taller than you.
Yeah, they are somehow still taller than me.
Like a head taller.
And like I customized and made big shoulders.
Yep.
I made face. Like I put all the face things to the max.
Yeah, like every other, like if you'd gone to some other place where it was like all humans, they would have been like half your height. And
Yeah.
you go to the Klingon homeworld, and there's Gorn like, oh, hello, shorty.
Yeah, so I did notice that there were quite a few different species, which was really nice. Like it's been a while since I've watched Star Trek, but I still remember a lot of stuff. So, I do know the Gorns. I know like a lot of DS9 stuff. I know a lot of Voyager stuff because the game doesn't take place in the Delta Quadrant, and Voyager is the one I watched the most. Like, I'm not. I would have liked for more of that, but like obviously they're adding a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe 8 years down the line, they'll have Delta Quadrant stuff.
Sooner, actually, Kevin. Now I know I sounded like a sports commentator there, but like to be honest, one of the big things about Star Trek Online 2 is that it's always changing. So what annoys me a lot is that if you look up reviews for Star Trek Online, they'll be of the game like 3 years ago. And like, yeah, back then it kind of was not as great. But what happens is that they've looked at all that feedback and said, okay, what can we do to make this different? So they did. So they changed a bunch of stuff. Now it's like they've got I remember one of the biggest issues was like everyone thought that the combat wasn't very involved, and like the gameplay wasn't as immersive as they would have liked. So Star Trek Online said, oh, all right, and so they changed it, and so now it's so much better. What they do, and it's kind of funny how they do this, is that to mark, they don't call them updates or patches, they call them seasons, like the same way that you have like the seasons in the show. So like right now the game is on season 9, so since the beginning, they've been updating things to try and make it better, and it's been really good. I feel like
this came out in 2011. The game, the original, like
they're on their 2010. They're on their 4th anniversary now.
Okay.
That's another thing. They do a lot of events and stuff like that in the game for things for various occasions and stuff like that. So they have like their anniversary event. They have the holiday event. Right now it's the summer event. You go to Risa and there's like games and crap. I showed Kevin.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kevin was a little surprised, but that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about the surprise and the fun. So what else about Star Trek Online's like... Well, first of all, I think that they've probably gotten over all of their like gameplay updates, basically. At this point, it's like the game is...
Missed House Gunplay.
Yeah, exactly. So now more of the seasons are about...
stories and
yeah.
new races. Because there's a lot to Star Trek, and there's a lot they could add. Like, they could have endless material at this point, but I'm sure that they would add like a few tweaks to make people happy, because like this is the point. I don't know how, I don't play MMOs a lot, but World of Warcraft, like I don't know how long that's been going on, over a decade, I'm sure.
No, it's an old game.
Like I know they add a lot to that game. Like, do you think this could have the same longevity as that?
Oh, I really do, because it seems like whenever I look up on the website, what they do is that they, like any game, it has a wiki, and one of the things that they have there is the upcoming content. They also post development blogs like on the website, so that you can see like what the team is working on and what they're going to come up with next. I think Star Trek Online is really good about that too, because they kind of tell you this is what we have next, and they talk to players and they say like, what would you want to see next? And a lot of it comes from the shows, but it also comes from completely new stuff. So like I would say most of the story is based off of the shows, but it takes a completely different direction. Like it goes a different turn. As far as like mechanics and gameplay go, it's like some of the stuff derails a bit from the show, but it is a lot of fun, right? So like that can be an issue for them sometimes, about what isn't like, would you look at that and say it's like, oh, that's not Star Trek, that Nether Imperium Star Trek, but like that's not really the point. The point is to have fun with it, and it really is. So I don't know. I'm just thinking of a random example. At one point, you can have like, I guess you can have an item like a batleth or something like that, and like that's really fun. But now it's like you can have a batleth that is, well, kind of like a lightsaber actually. Now that I think about it, which I mean isn't as like connected with the whole Star Trek line, but
that's amazing.
It is kind of fun. Like the batleth lightsaber,
as long as it's grounded. Like a game has to take liberties with things like the best licensed games are the ones that don't follow their source material. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Star Trek Online, I would have to say, is definitely a credit to the franchise. Like,
do the developers seem like they really like the franchise?
Yeah, they do. Like, I think initially they had some issues, and so that was around the same time that they had a couple of those first seasons. So it could be that was the reason for that. I don't really know, but it could be. But eventually, it's smoothed out, and it's worked really well for both of them because now, like Perfect World, the company that owns them, is now associated with one of the only and one of the best like Star Trek games out there, and Star Trek Online and Cryptic Studios, the people that make it, now have like the backing they need to do to further the ideas that they like, to make the story that they want to make. And I mean, so as far as the story goes, to give you an example, like season 6 was probably the last one where it was about changing like the gameplay and how it worked. Season 7 was probably the beginning of the story as far as it goes. That one was called, I mean, a bit of a spoiler here, but you're going to play it and find it anyway because of all the ads out there for it. Season 7 was about New Romulus. And what basically happens there is that this is where the Romulans start to become their own little faction because they go and they start their own kind of, like, they start a different way. So it's I don't know if you remember from the TNG episode with the reunification of the Romulans and the Vulcans, but you had... Anyway, Picard went to Romulus and found Spock there.
Okay, yeah.
That whole episode. There's a kid in there named Tatan.
Okay.
And he's like part of the reunification movement. He shows up in the game as the leader of the New Romulans. And so it's him and the Remans who basically they find this planet in Romulan space and they say, you know what, this is now New Romulus, because if you'll remember from the recent movie made by J.J. Abrams, the first one, Romulus was destroyed in the Prime Universe because of the Hobus supernova. Now the game takes place going from the Prime Universe, though not in the alternate one, not with Kirk and all that.
So Spock is gone. He's disappeared from the original universe.
Yeah, the game actually starts with saying like Spock went off and did other crap, and we don't know where he went. Basically, like the Prime Universe doesn't know what happened to Spock or to Nero or any of that crap. That just went off, and they don't know. So
what you were telling me is that the game because the Klingons at the end of like DS9, which is like one of the later Star Trek entries. Yeah. The Klingons were allied with the Federation, but in this one, obviously, because if you're gonna have like rival factions, you have to have the Klingons separated. So, it's 30 years after like that's like sort of Voyager time and DS9 time, and they're like they've had like more races added to the Klingon Empire.
Yeah. So right now, the Klingon Empire consists of, because basically what happened, if you want to go from like the gameplay, was that. The Klingons believed that the Gorn homeworld had infiltrators from Species 8472. Now, you'll remember them from Voyager.
Yeah, Voyager.
Basically, so the Klingon Empire, they had evidence for it. They went in, they took over. The Federation condemned them for it because it's like, what are you doing? You just stormed in there and taken over. So because of that, they kind of had a bit of a war again. Was because the Federation didn't want them to do that, obviously, because it was a breach of whatever accords or whatever. They also did the same thing with the Romulans because of the Hobus supernova. With the homeworld gone, the Romulans were in chaos, so the Klingons just moved in. It was becoming a theme of the Klingons starting to take over things more, and the Federation just like tried to tell them to stop, and they didn't, so war began. That's from the story perspective. From the gameplay perspective, this was a way to set up PvP. So, like, now what you can do is that you can go up against players, one of you in Klingon ship, the other one in the Federation ship, and duke it out that way.
Can you have battles on land?
Yeah. So there's space player combat, there's ground player combat, and then there's a third one that I'm forgetting, but that might be the only two I think about it.
So can you just like randomly in the field, you're just like, I'm taking you on? Or
No,
does it
no,
have
no,
to
no.
be in a specific arena, like a gladiatorial arena?
Yeah, so there's specific planets in a sector block. So basically it's like, if you think of it as kind of like a hub map, I guess you could say, like the galaxy map and all that. It's like there's various hubs. The border is a sector or a region between Federation space and Klingon space that you could say is like the war zone, I guess. And so within that, there's a bunch of planets that are arenas, and so you beam on there, and what happens is that you join a queue, and not Q like the guy, but like Q. Oh, Star Trek
I want
jokes.
them as a faction.
Yeah, where did the Q get in here? Honestly, they've just been sitting on their butts for the whole game. So what happens is that when enough people have joined the queue and they've all gone to this planet, then it'll start a match, and that could be either on the ground or in space, depending on what planet it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that. You showed me.
Yeah.
Like, you were showing me a lot of hub worlds, and I was in the Klingon tutorial, and we went to this hangar, and I shot a few guys.
Yep.
I did combat there. I did combat on the initial ship where I was just being attacked by Federation soldiers as a Gorn. And you also showed me a Borg world where the Borg had invaded.
Yep.
And I was shooting them, and obviously, I did get killed at one point because I just tackled too many at once. So, okay. I was playing as your character, though, so I had a lot more gear. Like, if I went on as a Gorn, I couldn't have handled that at all, I don't think.
No, probably not. Because, I mean, that is the thing, is that the game does a lot of stuff based on, like, endgame characters. Because that's where the story goes, right? Is that the story is based off of the endgame. So, okay, slight spoiler, but, like, whatever, you'll be fine with it. Is that during the endgame storyline, eventually, like, the Klingons and the Federation go at peace. They are no longer at war, and they, unite against a common enemy. And I'm not telling you who that is. But, like, it's that kind of thing, is that it does kind of orient with the endgame, because it doesn't want to mess up the story that it already has. I mean, I would say that most of the game, getting to endgame, is about the various missions that define your character. So, like, as you go through and you play these various episodes, they're called episodes, going back to the show, as you go through and play the episodes, it's about developing the character, it's about making your character, like, the captain or the commander, the admiral.
Yeah, I started as a lieutenant, and in, like, 15 minutes, I was a captain.
Yep, yeah, that's the Klingon chain of
command. Yeah, there's very different ways the Klingon campaign worked, but basically, I killed my superior officer.
Yep, and then just, there you go. Then you were captain before you knew it. To be honest, I think that's unique to the Klingon tutorial, like, and afterwards, because...
Yeah, you can't just become an admiral.
Yeah, no, you can't just, find an admiral or some player for that
It's like,
matter.
kill all the other admirals.
Oh, it's not like that game. Oh, what was that game called? The one where it's like, you start as an egg, and then you find another egg, and then you do rock, paper, scissors, or whatever, and if one of you wins, it's
there's this game about fish. Like, it was this frustrating Flash game. It was like, you're small, and then you have to eat all the fish with slightly smaller, but you can't always tell.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's just a Flash game. I might link to it, but it's sort of like that, but the game doesn't work like that. It's just a tutorial.
No, true. But yeah, I would think here's the thing. The Klingon storyline, I would say, is probably not the best one. Okay. Because they kind of felt like they had the Starfleet character, like, they had the Starfleet storyline. They had to add another faction, because obviously, I mean, like, you've got to add more. I really hope they do. They had to add the Klingons first. Like, it wouldn't have made sense if they added the Romulans first, or the Cardassians, or whatever. So, in that sense, I don't know whether it's as good as the Starfleet one, or even as the Romulan one. Because, in fairness, the Romulan one, the story is, like, very immersive. It's more about you, and it's more about the character than it is about the Romulan people. So, like, for the Federation, it's about Starfleet. It's about what Starfleet does. But for the Romulan... That was a fun noise.
Yeah, no, sorry about that.
Kevin, interrupt.
Just keep going, John.
Yeah. But, like, with the Romulans, it's more about you personally, because you're a bit... I'll say it. Like, your Romulan character is unique. You're more depicted as, like, being, like, a savior and that kind of thing. But for the Starfleet experience is, like, classically Federation. So, like, you're the classic captain. You're going and doing the classic Star Trek stuff. All your noises, Kevin.
I'm sorry.
But yeah. So I mean, the Klingon storyline is still good, and a lot of the missions are the same. So you'll have a lot of the episodes where, like, the Romulan episodes and the Romulan storyline and the Cardassian storyline, that kind of thing, like, they're shared between the various factions.
Yeah, you told me, like, because that's the easiest way to develop, because not everyone's going to choose a specific faction, so you don't want to put all your effort into one.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, to give you an example, and again, it's not really a spoiler, but you start with your story, I guess, is centralized around what faction you're dealing with at the time. And I mean, early reviews of the game kind of thought that this was a bit repetitive because you would spend like 5 or 10 missions dealing with the same faction. And like in reality, though, it's about figuring out how to beat that faction like over time. Like you don't want to just go in there and be like, oh, I've beat them, that's done. Like it gets more difficult as you level up. It's kind of adaptive difficulty.
Like the Borg.
Yeah, like the Borg.
Yeah, like
exactly. The Borg. So yeah, the Borg are in there too. You start with the Klingons though. Like they're like the main faction that you deal with, and you operate out of Earth Space Dock. And then there's an admiral that you report to, and you do missions. And you know he says, you know, go do this, and you do it. You come back, and it's good. You do those missions. Eventually, when you get into the Romulan storyline, then it's almost like you do a transfer. So like you're no longer at Earth Space Dock. You go over to a starbase that's on the border with the Romulans. There's the commanding officer there. Then gives you new orders. You go off and do missions that have to do with the Romulans and what they're up to, and then you go off and deal with the Cardassians, and then the Borg, and then da-da-da-da, and it goes from there. So, I mean, here's the thing: as far as like the adaptive difficulty goes, it's about whatever enemy you're facing off with depends on your level. So, like if you're a level 10 and you're dealing with the Klingons, odds are you're going to face a couple of birds of prey because you will. But if you go back to that mission as an endgame character, or even or whatever level more than that, it'll be a different kind of bird of prey.
Like a really good one, cloaking shields.
Yeah,
torpedoes.
exactly. Like their shields will be better, or they'll cloak more, or whatever. But it'll be a different kind of bird of prey. So like you remember the classic.
Yeah,
one?
I had to look at all the ships. Like they're very fancy looking ships.
Yeah, the ships are probably one of the best parts of the game because...
So let me just say that this game looks fairly good. I'd say that I prefer the ship part because it's more more stylized, because you have the basic, you're just like around a planet and asteroids and you get to shoot people and things. But then you can go into hyperspace where everything's like sort of neon colored, and it's basically like that's how you get from planet to planet, because it's not, you don't want to do a real time, I'm just going to a planet. Because you see like other ships zoom by you in like this weird hyperspace, and that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's almost like you zoom out. Basically, it's like now it's like you go from the orbiting a planet stage to the travel between planets or stars stage.
Yeah, and you can't battle there, but I did like the space battle. I think I liked it more than the land battle, because I just did the tutorial thing, and I was facing Federation ships, and it was like you actually had to, the arrow keys managed your shields, and like which arrow key you held managed a certain direct, like which side of your shield. So like you could put more effort into one when one was getting trained, which would drain from your other shields, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then you also had various weapons, so some weapons could fire from anywhere on your ship, but others you had to be pointed directly at your target, and I found that really cool.
Yeah, so like obviously disruptors you can't fire directly behind you, but like phasers, I don't think actually phasers, it's like the weapon that you get, whatever weapon it is, will give you an arc, like a range that you can use it in. So like I think phasers is like 270 degrees facing forward, whereas disruptors are like 90, or I don't know, they're like 45 or something like that. So again, it's all about like the strategy of what weapons you choose to use depending on what ship you have. So like if your ship isn't very fast, you probably don't want a weapon that can only face forward, because then you want to keep your enemy in front of you. That kind of thing. It has also to do with like the customization of the game, and how, like, again, how immersive it goes into what you can customize and what you can change, which I would say it's not everything, but it's very, very, very close. So like, say, Kevin, you were talking about the shields. Say you've got like the forward, the backward, and then the left and right shields. If you wear all those down and suddenly you don't have any shields anymore, there's a power that you can give to your bridge officers. And your bridge officers, again, are customizable. It's the 3 career strands, or tactical, engineering, or science.
Yeah, so you could choose some, like, it's just classes like any fantasy RPG, mage, like
Yeah.
The tank and the
Yeah.
whatever guy.
Yeah, so you can figure out which one's matched to which one. But say you have, like, if you've worn out all your shields, you can give your bridge officers an ability that restores all of your shields at once. And that'll recharge over time. Obviously, you can't just keep using that, but it's that kind of strategy that you depend on, because again, it's that customization. Like, you can win the game. It's just about how you choose to win it.
Yeah. There's a lot of like the bridge officers. They're basically like your allies. You get to customize them. It's not just you customizing yourself, which will be fine, but you get to customize. Like you could. I made a backstory for one guy, and I was like, I forget what it was. But it was like both his parents are spies.
Oh.
Or it's something, and it's like he likes oatmeal or something like that, and you can just customize his face, give him armor, and pimp him out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like that. Like there's a tailor. Like I was on a mission. It was like I was catching a criminal who escaped, and like it was like, go ask this tailor for information. He's like, he went that way. He's like, by the way, you can come buy my stuff anytime.
You need a new suit. Like.
So I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of this, but I will. Let's take a look at what you have first. And there's very clear. There's there's the home world, and then like that's your hub base, and there's a lot of stuff to do. Like I didn't know how much there was, but there's various rooms. I even saw Worf. Yep. It was just like casually the Worf's like, I'm the Worf that you think I am, and it's like, oh really, are you? And it's like, I'm with the Klingons now, not Starfleet, and it's like, here's a famous character who's in this game.
Oh yeah, no, they do a good job of like guest stars and stuff like that. Even if they don't actually have them there, they have links to it later. So.
And there's like the Forge. Like, there's the Forge, and I was very disappointed when LeVar Burton was not there.
Yeah.
It was like, this is a big letdown, John.
Yeah, this is terrible. Forge, that way. Nope. So, like, the Forge is another example of one of the many things that you can do in the game, which is, like, crafting. So, if you go around, in the show, like, they'll have, like, they've picked up some anomaly or something like that. Well, the game equivalent is that you pick up these things called particle traces, which will be whatever kind of different subspace anomalies or anything like that. And so what you do with those, then, is that if you get enough of them, you can bring them for the Klingons, it's La Forge, on the Klingon homeworld. For the Federation, it's Memory Alpha, if you remember that original series episode. And for the Romulans, I think it's just on their homeworld. And you can craft, like, a specific item that you want, again, to go with whatever strategy you're going with. Again, customization, you can do whatever the hell you want. So in that sense, like, that's another way that you can just get what you want as opposed to trying and finding it, because Star Trek Online, what it also does is that if you defeat an enemy, they have a chance to drop loot, basically, and so the loot is completely random. Like, it's not like a certain enemy will drop a certain item. It can just be like whatever the hell it could be. I guess the only real...
I saw some food like that. I forget what the food name was. I saw Borg dropping food, which was a bit odd.
Yeah, that can be a little bit confusing at times, but like, the main one with the loot though is that you can't really control it. Yeah, so like, but if you go and craft something, it's exactly what you want. You can see what it is, you can see what it does to your character, and that kind of thing.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm missing a lot of stuff because I only did a few of the tutorials, but John.
Yeah.
Like, I saw John pointed out someone walked by and their armor looked like they were Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably a testament to how creative you can get with things.
Yeah, so another thing that the game does, and this is a bit, again, this is endgame stuff, so it's not really, I wouldn't worry about it being a spoiler, but it is pretty cool, is that you have this thing called a reputation project, which what reputation does is that there's a certain faction that you do favors for, basically, and that allows you to get like high-level equipment from them, which will be something like a new suit of armor or something like that. And I mean, the fun part sometimes is going around and getting all of those armor sets, because then you get bonuses depending on how many pieces you have. So like you have, I think your typical equipment is armor, personal shield, and like a weapon that you hold. Sometimes it can be a kit too, which will give you various bonuses, like, I don't know, for an engineer, it'll be building turrets or something like that. And so you'll get bonuses depending on how many of each of those items, of how many of that list of items you have. And if you get all of them, you usually get the best ability out of it all. like there's a lot of stuff, Kevin.
Yeah.
I wish I could lay it all out for you, but
yeah, that would be difficult. But so ground combat, it's I'll talk about that. I'd say it's less interesting. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
You were saying how it was not very engaging in the initial ones.
In the initial ones, they didn't even have. Basically, what you can do is that your original combat is that you're standing there, you've got a weapon, there's a bad guy in front of you. You can either click on the guy to fire your weapon, or you can press the key that's associated with that weapon. Again, completely customizable. You can choose whatever key you want to fire your weapon. What they also have is that if you press B, it creates a crosshair for you, and you can aim with the mouse and then click to fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer that. I just do not like that kind of gameplay where it's like, just move around. If you think you're in danger, leave.
Yeah. So like that one, again, that's also a bit about practice too. So like for me, I haven't used the crosshair in a while. It is a bit.
I'm just used to that because that's the type of games I play.
Yeah, exactly. I think that actually, we should play it again, and I'll show you the crosshair and how it works. But that is something, again, that they didn't have it originally. That came out in like season 4, and it improved a lot of people's moods about the game just because it then allowed you to actually like control how you were playing, as opposed to, if I click fast enough, I'll kill the guy.
Yeah, I was finding that a bit odd, because I was just sort of strafing around them, and it was like, it's not like, because no matter where I moved, I was always going to hit the person. Like I didn't have to aim.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel like cover would be.
Cover.
Like, it's not an action game, so like I'm really used to playing a game where like cover and dodging and aiming are really big aspects, and I just don't like. I'm not a fan of that kind of game.
So cover is in the engineering like thing. So you can have a shield generator that your engineering officer will make for you, or that you can make yourself. You can have a cover shield, which is literally just like a wall right in front of you, in front of the enemy, and nothing goes through it. Like you have those kinds of defenses, but it all depends on what character you have. But again, like as far as natural cover, like there really isn't anything. Like there might be the odd like random tree or wall or something like that, or like peeking around walls or anything like that. But yeah, as far as it going, it's usually just like you stand your ground and just keep firing your weapons until one side loses.
See, when I was playing, I didn't have very many options. I had a shotgun. By the way, a shotgun is my favorite weapon in any game to use. If I'm playing a shooter,
you're using it down the hall.
If I like, there's this part when I was playing The Last of Us. I was just playing it for like I was like, I'm not going to do this actual section. I'm just going to go to bed, but I'll just see how far I get if I use my shotgun to kill everyone. I had maybe 20 bullets. I was sniping people across the yard with a shotgun, and afterwards, like I accidentally killed everyone. And if you clear an area of enemies, it will save. And it was like,
whoops,
I have no ammo now.
Perfect.
So I had to continue the game without much ammo. But anyway, I love shotguns, and I just find them much more satisfying. So I had like a phaser, and I would alternate between my phaser and my shotgun or whatever. And I just didn't have enough options to make any strategic decisions. And obviously, the more I get, the more fun I'm going to have.
Yeah, exactly. So like, another thing too is the weapons that it initially gives you in the tutorial will be like, I don't know, it'll give you one of each basically, I guess. It'll give you a sniper rifle and like a regular assault rifle and a shotgun and a pistol and that kind of thing. But there isn't enough for you to have that option for each of your bridge officers. So like if you give your sniper rifle to one of your bridge officers, then you can't use it. Okay. So it's that kind of thing. Later on, as you get more stuff, it's like you have more options, but then it's like you've got to give your bridge officers something. They can't just walk in there and start karate chopping their way through. So
I mean, they were trying, but
they were trying.
Like they were trying to revive me. I'm just like, revive me, go in there.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing is that your bridge officers kind of are useful in the sense that if you die, it doesn't mean the end of the game or whatever level you're on at the time. It just means that they can come and revive you, and then you can just get back up and keep playing. Now, if all of your bridge officers are down, or so are you, then you respawn, and I don't know, it'll be like at the beginning of whatever level it was, or something like that. Not the very beginning, but if you're on like another level or another floor or something like that, then it'll respawn you at the beginning of that floor or something. To be honest, as far as the story goes, like I just want to go back to the story, because with Star Trek Online, like all of the new content that they're making now, all of the old stuff is still there, but it's now about what's new, what's coming, and what they're working on. So they've got a lot of story that's very impressive and very interesting, but it also includes a bunch of other elements to it as well. So like, I think probably the most anticipated event in Star Trek Online is like a new episode or something like that, or a new reputation project or something like that, because it usually means a new ship, which is honestly like the best part.
Yeah.
Because the ships are the best part.
I mean,
like, they
you
just
can
are.
pimp them out and just...
Yeah. Yeah, you can also, again, you can customize your ships too. Like, customization, let's just keep going back to that, is that once you get a ship, say you get, I don't know, you get a Miranda class.
Okay.
It's like that's like the original Federation class, is that the Miranda class isn't just the Miranda. So it has two other variants. One of them you've seen before, the Centaur class, which you see once in DS9. I think you see a couple times after that. Anyway, it's a cool ship. And then there's also the Shakar class, which is basically like a Miranda with a lot more hardware. Like, it looks like it's been pimped out and ready to fight the Borg or something like that. Actually, yeah, if a Miranda and a Defiant met, like, Shakar would be the result. But again, it's like, all three of them are the same ship. All three of them have the same abilities, but you can customize how they look. Also, you can have elements of each ship in whatever ship you're flying. So you could have like a Miranda saucer, and you could have the Centaur nacelles or something like that. You can also randomize it and mix it up. You can change like the decals on your ship. Yeah, they're decals. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that you can just add on to your ship, is that not only is it whatever ship that you have decided is like your claim to fame as far as Star Trek Online goes, but you can also like pimp it out however you want, and you could like throw on some flame decals there. No, I'm just kidding. I wish, but no.
Yeah, I saw a lot of different ships. We went around to DS9, and there was a lot of different ships there.
Yeah.
And there's spiral ones. There was just big Romulan ones, like spiky ones, like probably not the best in terms of...
Well,
you don't need to worry about aerodynamics in space, but...
Hell no.
Maybe they're just a bit big.
Maybe just a bit. Well, because that's the thing, is that now you also have different ship classes. So like you've got, for the Federation, they're cruisers, escorts, and science vessels. Obviously, which one goes to which career officer. But again, like, you don't need to do that either, is that if you are an engineering officer and you want to have a science vessel, you can do that. If you want to be a tactical officer and have a cruiser, you can do that too. I actually recommend that. I'm doing that right now. It's pretty awesome. So for now, all the other factions, they have their various equivalents. The Romulans are a little bit confusing because they just have warbirds. I don't know. But what you also have is that you have the various other variants, like destroyers, carriers, which are like, it's a very large vessel. It has decent weapons. Think of it like a very large science vessel that also has hangar bays, which can launch fighters and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of different kinds of ships in that sense, but I think that they try to stay with some kind of template for them, like tactical engineering science. So if you want to stick with your specialty, you can, but you're also allowed to like spread out and see whatever else works.
See, I don't like to experiment a lot because I don't like to replay games. I play them once and I'm done. I might play the odd game once, but I need a new game plus or something like that, or it needs to be with friends, or it needs to be a long time since I played it. So I don't think I would just go, if I'm science, I'm going to go science everything, because I want to maximize my experience. And if I actually played a game, like, I don't have a lot of games that I can play multiplayer with friends. If I had games like that, because I own Nintendo systems and none of my friends do, and that's what I play, and like no one plays with me, so I know you are, but I want to be able to have a game where I get to like customize a character and like max them out, because I've tried everything, but I just don't have the time or motivation to do that.
Yeah, that's probably, I would think, is a downside. It's like, as far as other games go, is that there is a bit of an end, I guess you could say, but Star Trek Online, it takes a while.
Like Minecraft was the one game I did that with. I didn't play it with friends. I maxed out my own world. I just really got into that. But now that we're going into like university later, we're not gonna have time for stuff like that. So I don't.
Maybe not.
I'm probably gonna play things that aren't really multiplayer focused. Single player is what I'm focusing on.
Here's my question though: how do you max out an infinitely generating world?
I don't. I just like I achieved what I wanted to because like I haven't played that in a long time. Like updates. I mean, that's a game that updates a lot too, and I'd say that that game you really get to a point where you need to start playing with friends because there's so much you can do, and like I'd like to do like a hardcore or something like with friends, like really change it up.
Yeah, that'd be cool. My brother and I actually started one of the hardcore worlds, and it is cool because we're both kind of in the thick of it and like trying to figure it out, and we're really worried about it because like we don't want to lose the world and all that kind of thing. So it is a lot of fun that way. I remember Matt and I once we joined up with like a bunch of his friends, and Jasmine was there for some reason, and we had it wasn't Hunger Games, but it was basically just like it was, like survival but versus. Which was great because Matt's brilliant idea was to basically just dig a hole in the ground and then just hide there. And we built our base underground. No one ever found us.
Like how big was the map?
Oh, it was an Xbox one, so I guess their maps are like damn it, I used to know. It's like
much smaller.
250 by 250 maybe, I think. But like Matt and I were just in one corner, and we did everything underground, and like every once in a while would peek up and be like, "Yep, still fighting, okay," and then just go back down again.
Yeah, that just like seems like the best idea.
Well, that's Matt for you.
Yeah, that's surprising for Matt. But speaking of which, are there many mods or for Star Trek Online? I doubt it.
Oh, like can you mod it with like your own something or other?
I really doubt it.
I don't think
you can't do that for
MMOs. I don't think they'll let you. No. Again, though, you don't really need to. Like, if there was something that I'd want to do, I can't really think what I would want to mod, to be honest. Like, would I want to maybe, like, actually get some flame decals on a ship? Yeah. Maybe, but, like...
You could probably do graphics, and that's the easiest thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what did you think of the graphics for the game?
They looked very nice. I like the style of these space sequences more, but the land, they looked good. It just looked a little plain. Yeah. Because, obviously, with ships, they're very graceful things. You just move around. But humans, like, they have the running where they run into walls, and they have, it's just typical MMO stuff. Where, like, people,
it's like you're running, and there's a wall there, and you just keep running.
Some poor guy was trying to just operate, like, sell some of his items, and I'm just, like, standing in him, and I'm just like, hey, like one of the things I kept saying was want a fleet in the chat. Yeah. Because I saw there was an option to make a fleet with people. Yep. And I was like, I need to get someone in my fleet, so I just kept spamming want a fleet to people. Yep. That's now my catchphrase for this game.
Yep. Yeah, and it's spread now. If you go on the forums, you'll probably... Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. I saw someone else say that back to me.
I'm so happy right now. Like that.
Yeah, I want you to know like how weird that was because I said it a couple times. Yeah. After you had left, and no one ever replied, so I was like, fine, whatever. And then someone walked up to me, like literally, it was kind of strange too. I was at Risa, and someone walked up to me and was like, "Want a fleet?" And it just beamed out right there.
I really hope that was because of me.
I think it is, Kevin. It's like I've never heard it before. So well done. You made a trend on Star Trek Online.
I'm so happy.
Good job. Well done. Yeah. So yeah, as far as like the animations go in the game, when it's like the characters are there, it's like for the players it can look a little weird sometimes. The ships are obviously cooler, because it's like you're orbiting DS9 and it's like, whoa, look at all the different ships.
I want to fly DS9.
Yeah, well, that's a mod for you.
Yeah. There's also the wormhole. I saw the wormhole.
Yeah, if you go close enough to it, it'll open.
I didn't explore all the places, and I don't know enough about the places, but it seemed like all the quadrants were there. Like, all the main things you care about are there.
Alpha and beta quadrants are there, basically.
I saw the one thing in the delta quadrant.
Spoiler!
Yeah, well, okay, there was one thing in the delta quadrant, and it looked interesting, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like Season 8?
Yeah.
Season 9? I forget. But yeah, so, and again, that's all like endgame stuff, but as a character, and it'll depend on what's on which event it is and which one you're dealing with. Sometimes it'll be like nice and say, like characters level 26 and up can visit this map or something like that, but it will give you a limit. But
is there a lot of grinding, would you say?
Not as much as there used to be. Before, what it was is that for things like reputation projects and stuff like that, you would have to have basically you would have to have consistent participation. Was that you have to do it for a while before you could get anywhere. What they've done now is that they're saying now they're going for something that's more like frequent participation. So you get more rewards if you play every day than if you play
I think I would prefer long sessions. That's just how I play, because I can't play like every day, but I will usually sit down and play a game for 3 hours if I have time.
Well, you can still get rewards that way. And again, it's not like you get nothing if you just keep going. It's just that. So I'll give you an example. For a certain equipment thing, for I don't know, a task force that fights the Borg or something like that, you need to get a certain amount of marks basically to prove that you've been fighting the Borg in order to requisition high level equipment. I mean, it sucks, but whatever. So say, I don't know, if you play for the very first time during a day, you get 55 marks just right off the bat. Like if you play any mission that has to do with the Borg, then you get that amount. If you play again, then you get you get 55 in addition to the amount that goes with that mission. If you play it again, you just get that amount. If you keep doing that, then eventually it'll stop giving you marks and instead will give you dilithium. Dilithium is like the high-level equipment that you use for other the high-level currency that you use for other equipment. So, I mean, you can still like grind for a few hours on the game and eventually build up a surplus, but they want to focus more on people like coming back, because it did get kind of annoying. Like the old reputation projects, you needed to go and get like random items and get them from and you'd have to replicate them, and that would take time. It didn't make sense. And so they revamped it to say, hey, well, now it's like you just keep coming back, and then you get more marks that way than for anything else. So like the mark system, not Marxism, don't worry about it, is that like you have a certain amount of marks and you spend them on whatever you want, and that could be equipment, that could be abilities. Like it's up to you, customization. Woohoo! Yeah.
So what was I going to say? I was going to mention the world. I saw like Ryza. That was the big tropical beach resort thing.
Yep.
That looked interesting. It was a big world. You said it was one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, it certainly is, because the way that no one travels, well, I mean, you can travel by foot, but it's actually a lot faster to travel by...
surfboard or jetpack,
yes,
which I saw
jetpack
on that
or
place.
Surfboard. No.
Yeah, I just saw someone like...
high-powered surfboard. Yep, jetpack.
Right in front of me.
Yep. So, like, the jetpacks they introduced with the event, which they started last year, and then this year they've been like, oh, now there's also the surfboard event.
Yeah, I saw the surfboard.
And you got, like, a surfboard with, like, a high-powered engine. So like for the Ryza event, it's that kind of thing, you know. It's like, so the summer event is you go to Ryza and you fly around, you do like a race in either the surfboard or the jetpack, and you get a certain number of basically summer event marks, I guess you could say. They're called like Ryzian pearls or something like that. And if you get enough of them and you commit them to a project, they give you a starship. This year it was a Ryzian cruiser, basically, or something like that. And it's pretty cool because it has solar sails. Just saying. So for the winter event, you're in Q's Winter Wonderland. I remember now. Q is actually in the game.
Yeah.
And he whisks people off to this place. It's like it's all snow and everything. And the Breen are there because they're cold, I guess. Whatever. And so if you do a racing project there, where you basically, it's like an ice race, and you like skate through this course and all that, and then you get what is it? What's the mark for the winter one? Oh, right, 8x10 autographed glossy of Q.
Yeah.
And so if you get enough of those, then you get a Breen ship. Like it's that kind of progression. It's just like it's those kind of events that are pretty cool.
It does seem like they update this a lot. Like they have a lot of things that reference the show. They just do rewards players. Basically, like I remember playing Webkins with my sister a lot, and that game, it sucked you in, and they like made you keep playing, and they would add stuff, and it just we got tired of it. But they did seem to add quite a bit of stuff. It wasn't as exciting as the initial stuff.
Yeah.
But it did seem exciting. Another thing I want to say is that I really like open world games where there's just a world to explore and there's no set order. I really liked Red Dead Redemption. I really liked
Assassin's Creed.
Infamous. I don't like as much, but I do still like it.
Assassin's Creed.
I haven't played one of those actually.
Okay.
Lego City Undercover. All the recent Lego games with big open worlds. Those are really good.
Those ones are great.
This one, I don't think it's like this, but I would like to go see the corners of every place. I would like to see every unique place, see what they look like, just see what's to do there, and then probably I just like exploring worlds.
So Star Trek Online, what it also does is that it has this thing called the Foundry, and that allows you to go and actually make your own missions and make your own like maps and stuff like that, and make your own space battles and that kind of thing. So because of that, you get to see how the game is made. There are a lot of old missions that look like they were made by amateurs, just because now that you see how it's made, you look back and it's like there's other stuff there. Because a lot of the worlds are automatically generated.
Yeah.
So they take a bunch of items basically, and they're like, okay, we need a tree here, randomly generate one in there, and then they just throw it all together, and then it just makes this completely different world. And some of them, it does look really cool. It does look like a strange new world, but other times it can just look like it's been generated. So that kind of thing is really interesting, because it does, I don't know, like they're not bad worlds, right?
Yeah.
It's like some of the missions.
They look nice.
Yeah, it's like some of the older missions. The worlds are that kind of thing. They've gotten a bit better about that later on, because they've been making new items and stuff like that. They've been making new objects and things that you can put into your worlds. But like the old content is the same. So I guess for me though, I've played the campaign, I guess you could say, a couple times now. So it does look familiar. So like for the first time it is great, but then it's when you go back, it's like, oh, that looks familiar.
I don't really have much to add to this.
Yeah. I just wanted to say one more thing. When you are playing the game and you kind of want to know what's going on next, the game, Cryptic Studios and Star Trek Online and Perfect World and all that, they're really good at posting dev blogs that say what's coming up and also what's already happened. And so like you see the information about what's been going on like individually as like little articles on the website. If you want to know more about the game and the updates that have come by, I mean, there won't be any serious spoilers there. So if you wanted to know more about what's new, I really recommend that you would go and check that out, just because like it breaks it down in a way so that you can read it and just like analyze everything that they've changed and everything that's new, and yeah, go from there.
Okay, so I guess that's all we have to say about Star Trek Online. Compared to Ghost Trick, I guess. Just final thoughts.
Well, like
I mean, it's the worst comparison.
Compare
you could
a
do.
DS campaign game.
I
to
originally
Star
had
Trek
this
MMO.
like idea that maybe we could have this like versus thing, like what game's better, but no, we're not doing that. Like they're incomparable.
Okay, I will say this, that they are both they're very good in their respective fields.
Yep,
you know, like I would not say that of the two of them there's like a particularly better
Ghost
one.
Trick's better MMO. Ghost Trick Ghost Trick MMO.
Like I will say this though, Ghost Trick's story is absolutely amazing. I would also say that like the Star Trek story is good as well. Actually, no, the story is good as well. But as far as getting immersed into a story as much, I was on the edge of my seat when I finished Ghost Trick.
Yeah.
I would not say that the same thing happened as much for Star Trek Online, but the experience of Star Trek that was in that game was really cool.
I didn't play enough of Star Trek Online to have a full opinion on it, but what you told me, it definitely seems like a good MMO. The developers are really adding a lot of stuff. I really like Ghost Trick. I do recommend you play both these games if you do have the time.
Yeah, if you're a Star Trek enthusiast and like you enjoy MMOs and you have the time for MMOs, like I really do recommend Star Trek Online, just for the fact that if anything, it's not only the only Star Trek game out there, but it's also a very good Star Trek game out there.
So I guess thank you for watching. This was Broccoli Talk again.
Broccoli Talk.
Yeah.
Oh.
We do have some episodes upcoming. Maybe we're gonna have sometimes a review discussion, not necessarily with John, but with other people, other guests, other games.
Yeah, I'll just.
We're gonna have more of these, like where I lend a person a game and another person lends me a game, and I'm actually gonna have some where I just review a solid game with people and like people who would be experts on that game. So thank you for listening and have a great day.
Bye guys.